What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and tonight we're going to be talking about some wild new details about Season 1 DLC for Modern Warfare 2 and even more. Definitely stay tuned. Before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below because we're very close to 100,000 subscribers here on the main channel. Really appreciate it. Also drop a like and turn notifications on to stay up to date with everything going on in Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, Warzone Mobile, and any other future Call of Duty as well. Now, I know the game isn't even out yet, but plenty of content that's planned for Season 1 and beyond is already being heavily rumored by the usual suspects online that do post reliable information from time to time. So I'll obviously make a follow-up video in the next couple of weeks after Modern Warfare 2 comes out to talk more about what to expect in Season 1. Then I'll of course have a video breaking down official marketing whenever that begins in maybe early to the middle of November, right before November 16th when the season is supposed to start. But starting off with multiplayer maps. I know it's crazy we're talking about this, but both Favela and Shoot House have been rumored to return pretty early on in Modern Warfare 2's life cycle. Again, take it all with a grain of salt. Nothing is confirmed at this point in time, but I think it would be very odd to not get either Shoot House or Shipment by Season 1, considering those are some huge fan favorite maps, especially when it comes to camel grinding. So unless Modern Warfare 2 has those camel grinding type of maps right away at launch, people are going to be asking for Shipment, people are going to be asking for Shoot House. So I think one of those maps is inevitable for a Season 1 launch, so take that as you may. But when it comes to Favela, this is where things get a little confusing, because the rumor that came out a couple of days ago about a greatest hits map pack coming to Modern Warfare 2, that's a rumor that I think has been misinterpreted by the people out there that are spreading it. I could be mistaken, but the way that rumor sounds is that we're getting a greatest hits like Call of Duty release, a standalone game, so to speak, in 2023 that features a variety of maps from Treyarch's catalog, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammers. So if anything, it's best to save a map like Favela for that greatest hits. But if it is just a map pack for Modern Warfare 2, then how would that work? If it's all 2009 maps bundled together in one big drop, then they'd probably save that for like a year 2 update or something. But there's also a possibility to just kind of spread out all the original 2009 Modern Warfare 2 maps over the course of 6 to 12 seasons. That could happen as well, but we'll have to wait and see what their plan actually is. But there's a lot more to get through when it comes to DLC. Don't go anywhere, but let's go and take the sponsor of tonight's video. Now, tonight's video is sponsored by Atlas VPN. A big concern in the gaming world is having your data taken from you, but with Atlas VPN, you can stay under the radar when playing games or browsing the web while retaining ultra-fast connection speeds. You can also prevent websites from tracking your info and selling targeted ads to you. You also don't want private conversations to be read by the websites you use either. It blocks all malicious links, ads, and trackers, and will notify you when someone is trying to steal your data. One of the best features is being able to view content that is blocked in your region, whether that be a website or a show over on Netflix. We all know the struggle with that, right? Well, you can log in with Atlas VPN and get access to videos that aren't normally available to you by changing your IP location. You can also get discounts on products that may be cheaper in other regions too. Right now, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount. It means you can get a 3-year subscription for just $1.83 a month, plus 3 months for free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Timer's running out though, so get your deal by clicking on the link in this video's description or the pinned comment, and thank you to Atlas VPN for sponsoring tonight's video. But back to the video, we then got a very interesting report which the press went crazy over earlier this afternoon regarding all upcoming operators in Modern Warfare 2, many of which could even be for Season 1. So the list includes Axel, Connor, Klaus, Luna, Messi, Neymar, Pogba, Reyes, Gromsko, and last but certainly not least, the lady herself, Rose. So you probably noticed there are some big names in there, and they're the names of actual soccer players. I mean, you guys probably saw Messi and were like, wait, how does that work? And don't forget, Activision has done some pretty interesting crossovers the last couple of years with some big properties that you probably never expected to see in Call of Duty. I mean, some recent ones include Snoop Dogg, Terminator, Umbrella Academy, Attack on Titan. I mean, they've done Die Hard, Rambo, and the list goes on. But I think when it comes to soccer, if you guys are wondering just how they could even make that work, first of all, we don't know if that means we're going to get maybe them as operators, or are they just characters that will be in the game through like a cameo or something, maybe in campaign. Maybe they're not actually playable operators that you can buy as bundles, but I'm sure they'll do that as well because that would sell like hotcakes. We have the upcoming World Cup, and I think right around when the World Cup happens, that's also when Season 1 is meant to come out. It's a good 2 weeks after Season 1 drops. So I do think it's possible that either early on in Season 1 or maybe for Season 1 Reloaded, they end up dropping this soccer-like crossover, which would also line up with the rumor that Uplink is apparently also coming back as a game mode in Modern Warfare 2. And how poetic would that be to see Uplink as a game mode in multiplayer right around the time you get a soccer-like crossover featuring some fan-favorite players as playable operators? I mean, that would be crazy to see. It's kind of out there for a crossover, but the timing does make sense when you look at the exact timing the World Cup is happening, which is the very end of November. Now, I think the goal here is to keep up with Fortnite's craziness of crossovers, and I think their goal is also to have at least one big collaboration per season, possibly even 2 if they can manage to get that done. And regardless of what you guys think of that, I think it's worth noting that Vanguard practically did have a new crossover almost every season. My favorite in Vanguard was definitely Godzilla vs. Kong, but that was more something for Warzone than Vanguard. I get that. But it's unclear if they did that every season that just boosts sales, or is that really setting a precedent for how many crossovers we're going to get in the future of Call of Duty, especially with the game as big as Modern Warfare 2. Only time will tell. But with that being said, don't forget there are 4 sets of milsims here in MW2 multiplayer. We already got a pretty good view of them during the beta. We have SAS, Shadow Company, SpecGru, and then Cortac. Now, the Ghost of Hope put out a pretty good theory that we could see even other sets of operators released in post-launch updates. I mean, maybe one could be led by Alejandro, one could be led by Gaz. Be cool to see different operators being added in that kind of lead different groups that might have even been in the campaign but aren't really featured in the multiplayer operator selection. So we'll have to wait and see how the post-launch works for that. But going back to what I said earlier about Rose, I think it's inevitable that we'll see both Rose and Mara, which I believe are 2 characters that sold very, very well at MW19. I'm sure we'll see both of them to some capacity, right? And I know they nerfed Rose as a skin many, many times in the past, but we'll have to see what state she releases in, and hopefully it's not as broken as the original Rose that came out in MW19. But here's where things get interesting. So Hope also put out a claim recently saying all content we're getting with Season 1 of Modern Warfare 2, new 6v6 maps, new ground war maps, new modes, raids, gunfight, Warzone 2.0, DMZ, ranked play, but with the question mark there because he's unsure about that one specifically, even though CDL is meant to start much earlier this year, which might line up with a pretty early launch for ranked play as well, as opposed to the usual release of ranked that happens in like February. So there's that. But then if you look at just Warzone 2's launch specifically on November 16th, you have Warzone 2 on its own with Battle Royale, possibly Plunders. I know an image out there does exist of Plunder at the Warzone 2 menu. Somebody broke into that during the beta somehow. He's also claiming Gunfight's coming out on that day, and then ranked is the one he's not 100% certain on. So let's break that down. First of all, that's a huge day. I mean, November 16th sounds to be like an even bigger launch than October 28th. I mean, the campaign comes out through early access on the 20th, so that's going to be huge already. The 28th will be multiplayer and Spec Ops. I think MP will be huge, but Spec Ops will be something that gets played a little bit, probably won't be that massive. As of right now, it's rumored that we're only going to be getting 2 missions at launch, hence why I think we should be getting at least a couple more missions by Season 1. That's my guess right now. But to say that we're not only getting Warzone 2 and DMZ and a Season 1 Battle Pass on the 16th of November, but then also 6v6 maps, ground war maps, modes, that's a lot of damn content. I personally think that a lot of that will be saved for the mid-season. I think November 16th is already packed as it is when you think about the Battle Pass integration, Warzone 2, DMZ. That's already enough. But I guess for those out there that have no interest in Warzone 2, might want to see some more content added to multiplayer instead, whether it's maps, modes, weapons. So we'll be getting that, but that is a lot of content. As of right now, Raids is kind of in question. During COD Next, it was said that it's coming during Season 1. I don't know if it's at the start of Season 1, but Charlie Intel said on the sheet that we saw over at the event, it did say that Raids isn't actually coming until post-launch, not specifically Season 1. I do hope Raids is like a reloaded update or something beyond that, because to have all that in one day is a bit too much, but the more the merrier. I'm down for all of it, but you know the old saying, don't blow your load all at once. Let's kind of spread things out a little bit, especially if all this content's already 100% finished. Spread it out so that when devs go on Christmas break, they kind of have that content on deck ready to go while they're away. Somebody just has to click a button over at the studio while everybody else is out of the office, and then that content releases hopefully bug-free while everybody's still out there on Christmas break. But I also want to say, Gunfight was massive in MW19. I think it set up a pretty perfect alpha for that game as well. I know it was only for PlayStation, information, but that really set the tone for how good Gunfight is as a mode, and they did a good job with MW19's post-launch support, adding in more gunfight maps, better rewards. Cold took it a step further where they added even more maps and even crazier tournaments, brackets, rewards on top of that. I love the way they did that. And then Champion Hill and Vanguard was a very promising approach to kind of spicing up the gunfight formula and adding a sledgehammer twist to it. I loved it. And they got no post-launch support whatsoever, so maybe because Gunfight's coming post-launch and not at release, that just means it'll get some healthy updates throughout the year. I think Gunfight is huge, and the fact they're not including it right away at launch just tells you that they have priorities for other modes, whether it's third person, whether it's ground war, knockout, prisoner rescue, which I'm all for. Let's bring out the new content first, then bring in the classic modes later on in the year to spice up the player base a little bit. And to kind of follow up with that, Hope even claimed himself that he's been hearing that both Infinity Ward and Activision are debating the content schedule for MW2. Activision wants IW to spread the content out over November and December, which I fully agree with, but IW wants to drop as much as possible all at once. Activision are worried about post-launch sales mainly. I think the game will be fine, especially with how big Warzone 2 is about to be, or DMZ alone, which will drive instant sales to the premium COD, which is MW2. I think they'll be fine there, but maybe they have data in front of them that says otherwise, who knows? So I'm very curious what's going to happen here, right? I'm trying to think of why they'd want to drop everything all at once and not spread everything out at least over the course of like 3 weeks. I think if you start Season 1 off with just Warzone 2 and DMZ and a Battle Pass, that's good, and then maybe a week or two later, drop your soccer crossover, drop your new MP maps, a ground war map, weapons. I think it's best to kind of spread things out a little bit, but hey, maybe their mentality is if we drop everything all at once, they'll be good content-wise for 2 months until after January or something. Maybe that's their mentality here, I just don't know, but let me know your thoughts on all that content down below. What I also want to say is that we're going to also be seeing content for Warzone Mobile on those roadmaps. I'd be shocked if that's not the case, but considering the heavy cross-progression between MW2, Warzone 2, and Warzone Mobile, I see no reason why they'll kind of squeeze in some Warzone Mobile content onto those roadmaps, which might change the structure of how the roadmaps are laid out. I know COD Mobile does its own thing with its own roadmaps, that's not going to change, but Warzone Mobile is going to be integrated through the new COD 2.0 system, where weapons transfer over, leveling, operators, other unlocks and cosmetics, so it'll be cool to see how everything is marketed all at once. Warzone Mobile is scheduled to come out in 2023, so I'm assuming maybe by Season 2, we'll end up seeing that full cross-progression really added in to change the future of COD forever. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on the wild new details about Season 1 DLC for Modern Warfare 2, and what do you think is specifically for Season 1? Do you think most of the content we just discussed is for future seasons, or is this all for the November-December window of Modern Warfare 2's launch? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.